friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a bit of a bookish video, as today is the last day of July at the time of this recording, and we're entering into August, which is going to be my birthday month. And as always, August tends to be a bit of a bittersweet month because while I am celebrating my birthday, it also for me signifies the end of summer. And as summer being one of my favorite seasons, it's kind of sad. It's kind of, I'm not really necessarily happy about that. So if you are a person that really enjoys the summer season and you're looking to maximize those summer vibes and soak every bit of the magic that is summer into your veins as we prepare to go into the fall season, this video is for you because I do have some bookish recs that I feel have that quintessential kind of vibe of summer that I'm going to be sharing with you. So if you want to add these to your TBR so that you can, again, soak in those vibes, soak in the magic of summer, then these books are definitely going to be for you. So first up, we have a little bit of a mystery thriller. I think mystery thrillers can be really delightful in the summertime, especially when they have like rich summer atmosphere and vibes in them, and this mystery thriller is definitely that. It is The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. So in this novel, we are basically following this young woman named Emma, who when she was a teenager and she was sent away to sleepaway camp for the summer, she made friends with this group of young girls, and they were kind of like the it people or the it group, and they kind of caused a lot of ruckus and got into a lot of trouble. But there was this one night when the other girls decided to sneak out of the camp, and Emma did not go with them, and it just so happens that on that night they all ended up turning up missing, never to be found again. And it kind of stirs up this great big controversy for the camp, and this controversy regarding Emma, as does she really know what happened with the girls, and it's just a whole big whoop-de-doo. And that has been trailing her and following her for years to come. And now she is an artist, and she is kind of like painting images of the girls in her paintings. And it just so happens that the owner of the camp, who was forced to close the doors of the camp that summer due to the fiasco with the missing girls, reaches out to her, and she is inviting her to come back to the camp and work there as a camp kind of like counselor, or as like a camp, I don't know, I don't know what you call them, but she's invited her to come back there to kind of help as she's going to reopen the camp, and to facilitate and to work with and work over the other girls, and to share her tips as her being such a successful artist and sharing that with the young girls. And it's kind of like a second chance for her since things went awry during the kind of missing case fiasco, and there were a lot of things that Emma said and a lot of shade that she threw to the camp's way. And this is kind of a way for them to kind of mend bridges, mend fences, and turn things for the better and start and turn over a new leaf. So she does agree to do this. And her main reasoning behind this is that she feels like there is something key and essential that she was missing, and that she wants to find out what actually happened to the girls and who was responsible for them going up and ending up missing and causing them danger. And she is determined to uncover that while she is staying there at the camp. That is her sole purpose, and that is what she is trying to do there. And things get really interesting, really spooky, and really crazy in a hot hurry as we see her kind of flashing back onto what happened when she was there as a teenager. And we are seeing that in contrast to what's happening in the present. And lo and behold, a similar situation pops up with the girls that she was responsible for in her cabin. They end up going missing kind of in the same style that the younger girls went missing when Emma was younger. And they are beginning to kind of blame her and say that maybe she is doing this for attention, or there are some ulterior motives behind what is going on. And she is on the hook for these young girls' disappearance. So she knows that she must get to the bottom of this to clear her name and to find out what is really going on. This was quite interesting. It's not my favorite Riley Sager book, to say the least, but when it does come to having that kind of mysterious, summery vibe and what you think of when it comes to mystery thriller, this fits the bill because it is a summer camp. So you get all the summer camp vibes. And yeah, it's definitely very atmospheric. The setting, it just reminds you of summer, makes you feel of that. And it's a really good book if you want to read like a nice mystery thriller that has summer themes and summer vibes. This would be a good one to pick up. Next up, we have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is definitely the quintessential, I feel like, summer book. We are following this group of siblings that they have their own childhood trauma when it comes to their parents. And this is why they kind of cling to each other and they have this close, tight-knit circle around each other. But this is this one night every year that they throw this epic summer bash, summer party, and anyone and everyone who is everyone is there. And we are following the events that are happening a little bit before the party ensues, during the party, and what happens after the party and how things kind of unfold. And throughout all of this story, we're seeing the dynamic between these siblings, the secrets that they've been holding and hiding from each other, as also they're kind of dealing with their own personal kind of stuff, their personal issues, and they're trying to decide what next steps they want to take in their life and where they want and how they want to pivot into the future. And I really enjoyed this. I liked the vibes of this, especially as they are all surfers and you get to see a lot of scenes of them surfing, going to the beach. They live right near the beach. So it's just, I don't know, the perfect atmospheric summer vibes. And then with the whole like wild party, it just gives like wild, reckless, young, and having fun during the summer. And I really enjoyed this. And if you are a fan of like kind of like women's fiction and contemporary novels with contemporary themes of storytelling, you will definitely enjoy this. So give it a try. Next up, we have You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi. And this novel definitely gives all of the lush, atmospheric summer tropical vibes due to the setting of this novel. But it does pack a bit of emotional punch as it's very thought-provoking. And we do uncover and we see a lot that's happened with grief and rebirth after grief. So in this story, we are following Faye as she lost her husband like early on in their marriage due to a tragic car accident. And this has been plaguing her for a while now as she's been trying to navigate her grief and trying to come out from under it, but it's just feeling insurmountable to her because she doesn't know how to kind of step into the future without the person that she thought that she was going to be with forever, and that she only got such a small amount of time with him. She does have her best friend who is there kind of like hyping her up and kind of encouraging her to get back out into dating, to move forward with her life, to move forward with her art, and to just really move on and not necessarily forget all that happened, but to just kind of like step into the next phase of her life. And we see her trying to do this when it comes to her romantic relationships and entanglements. She doesn't necessarily want to get into anything too deep, too intimate, or too serious because she's still not ready for that kind of connection with another person. And she's really not finding other people that just spark that interest in her. So she's mostly settling for kind of like hookups and situationships and romantic entanglements. And she ends up meeting up with this gentleman, Nasir, who comes on really strong from the beginning and is intensely interested in her and in pursuing her. Although she is pretty clear that she is just going to take it one step at a time and that she's not promising him anything, but he does still relentlessly pursue her, and they develop this kind of friendship, situationship kind of thing. There isn't necessarily any sexual intimacy happening, but they do have this strong emotional bond, kind of intellectual connection. And he decides that he wants her to grow as an artist and to become more renowned in her artistry. And he speaks to some people that he is close with, and he's able to get her a show in his hometown. And he is telling her that he wants to take her out there so that she can have a show. She can meet his family, his father, who is a famous world-renowned chef, and just integrate her into his life, I guess, in the hopes that maybe this will be the thing that solidifies their friendship into a relationship. But as she gets there, Faye finds out that she has this attraction to Nasir's father, Aleem. And it's not just a physical or sexual attraction. It is more of an emotional kind of like spiritual connection. And while she thinks it's one-sided, she learns that it's actually not one-sided, and that he has this connection and this feeling and this inclination towards her as well. And this starts some trouble brewing in paradise because as you would know, it's not a good look to jump from one guy to their father. So we're following the fallout of all of this. We're seeing her journey dealing with grief, her journey dealing with guilt, her journey dealing with kind of owning and reclaiming her life and her voice after the trauma and grief that she's been through, and taking a second chance at love, even though it's coming to her in this unconventional and very problematic way. This was a very fascinating read. Again, the setting, it was lush, it was tropical, it was amazing, and definitely gave all of the summer vibes. It's very sensual, it's very sexy. I really loved it, but it's still very intellectual, very thought-provoking, and I love those aspects of this novel too. Highly enjoyed this. Highly recommend. Next up, I wouldn't think that I could have any kind of list talking about books that are perfect for the summer and that encapsulate summer vibes without mentioning The Summer I Turned Pretty by Junie. So in this book and in this series, we are following Belly as she is basically kind of coming of age and coming to her own. She's leaving that ugly, awkward phase of, preteen and stepping into being a teenager who is just beautiful and blossoming and flourishing. And we're seeing her step into that. And we're also watching her as she is vacationing with her mom's best friend and her sons, which they do every year for the summer. And she is going there, kind of with this new attitude, this new kind of vibe. And she's hoping to catch the attention of Conrad, who she has had a hopeless crush on since forever. And there's a lot that ensues with this entanglement as well, because there's Jeremiah, which is the other brother, and they both kind of take a notice of her, and it's very interesting. It's a very interesting little novel exploring, I feel like, just the dramas of being a teenager, the dramas of coming of age and growing up and maturing, and how to handle different relationships when it comes to your family, when it comes to, romantic interests, when it comes to friendships. And we're seeing Belly navigate all of this in this series. If you just want something that's silly, goofy, and you don't mind reading a young adult novel where they're acting very much every part of their age, this would be good for you, especially if you're looking for something that definitely has those atmospheric, summery vibes. You will definitely love this and vibe with this. Next up, we have The Last Love Note by Emma Gray. So this is a very heartfelt piece of contemporary fiction, women's fiction, and we are following Kate as she is in the midst of trying to pull her life together following the loss of her husband, her great love, Cameron. And she's trying to raise their son while reintegrating herself back into the work field and kind of like just figure out her life and navigate this awkward season of where she's been without her husband for a little bit, for a couple of years, and she still feels like she's not together, that she's not solid, that she's still on this uneven territory, and that everyone is clocking this and that everyone is judging her. And we see her trying to navigate that. But there are also some other things going on as she's trying to understand a lot of what happened as her husband, who ended up having this disease. And what we see in this novel is Kate unpacking the history of her and her husband, from their love story to when he fell sick to his passing, and in an attempt to process her grief and finally let him go so that she can open herself to the next phase of her life. This story was phenomenal. It was very gut-wrenching, very heartbreaking. It was such an intimate and poignant exploration of what I would think spousal grief would look like. I really enjoyed this. There are a lot of summer vibes because this novel is set in Australia. There are a lot of different beaches. It felt like the perfect summer vibe on that aspect, but it packed a little bit of an emotional punch, and I appreciated that as well. So definitely, if you are a person who loves reading about heavier topics, that loves a more poignant story, this would be a great one for you to pick up. Next up, we have Junie by Erin, Crosby, Eckstine, and this novel is such a beautiful exploration of family, sisterhood, grief, and just trying to navigate trauma and living in a world that is systematically oppressing you. So we are basically in this story following 16-year-old Junie, who is living in the South during the 1800s, and she is just trying to keep her head above water. She recently lost her older sister, Minnie, and she's still struggling with grief and guilt over kind of the tumultuous aspect of the relationship, and how now that she doesn't have Minnie to look out for her, she doesn't have the opportunity to kind of like navigate and grow into close kinship with her sister and to understand her more better and have her sister understand her. And she's grappling with all of that. She's also grappling with the fact that, you know, she is basically the maid to this young girl, Violet, who she has this kind of close friendship with, where she has allowed her to learn how to read and to write, and they get to talk about books and literature. And she kind of encourages Junie to just be herself and to not kind of fall in line with the typical ways that enslaved people were supposed to act during that time. And she's kind of feeling safe that Violet is different, and that they're just kindred spirits, and they're on an equal level playing field. But things go awry when a young caller comes and it shows a potential interest in marrying Violet. And what that means for Junie is that her life is going to get uprooted, because of course Violet would take her maid with her when they traveled over. I do think it was to either Louisiana, or maybe it was Alabama. I'm not sure where they were supposed to travel to, but Junie was going to go with Violet and be her maid there. And she is flustered by this because she's just recently lost her sister, and now she's going to get taken away from the only family that she has known, and she is freaking out. And during that process, she ends up some kind of way triggering the ghost of her sister, Minnie. And Minnie is not able to actually move on and cross over to the other side until Junie does some specific things so that she is able to cross over. And we see Junie grappling and navigating and dealing with that, as there are a lot of truths and a lot of secrets that are coming to light. And we also see her kind of navigating her first romantic relationship, her first love with Caleb, who is the groomsman to the gentleman that came calling for Violet. And there's just so many different things happening. There's so many different rich themes when it comes to coming of age during such a time as this, when it comes to the sticky parts of relationships between sisters and relationships within a family, and also knowing when it's time to let go of family and step into something new, because you need to be the first one in your family to actually make a change and to break generational curses and generational trauma. And this was such a fascinating, emotional story. I cannot tell you how much I cried reading this. I loved it. And if you are a person who loves historical fiction and you don't mind reading stories about Black Americans when they were enslaved and learning more about chattel slavery and slave culture and environment during that time, you will definitely enjoy this book. But just make sure to pack some tissues because it packs a punch. Okay, so next we have The Hollywood Assistant by Cobb. And this book is just rich and ripe with obsession, seduction, and just sultry vibes. So in this novel, we are following Cassidy Foster, who after the ending of her recent relationship is looking to turn over a new leaf and looking to go a new direction in her life. She does tend to write romance novels, but that's kind of not panning out for her. So she's really wanting to try to find something or try to go into a new direction in her career and just to get out of the dumps because she's feeling a little bit bad. That is when Cassidy's best friend, who is well connected within the circles of Hollywood since she is a screenwriter, she ends up hooking Cassidy up with a job to work for Nate and Marisol Sterling and be their assistant and basically help Marisol with whatever little errands errands and whatever little things that she needs done. So she ends up leaving where she lives in Austin and going to Los Angeles and getting a place there and working for the Sterling family. And she kind of develops this obsession with the Sterling couple, with Marisol, and especially with the husband Nate, as she has this attraction to him. And this obsession, it's a little interesting. It's interesting, we'll say that. But also coming with this obsession is the fact that the Sterlings are so welcoming and inviting to her. They just give her all of the love and all of the acceptance, and she's just been really hungry and craving this. But things kind of go awry when she finds out the real reasoning for why she is actually there and why she was actually hired for this position. And that's when things kind of go off the rails and end up with her being under suspicion for murder. And this was a delicious, slow burn, but just really, I don't know, I liked the setting of this novel. I mean, when you think of summer, you do think of California or Los Angeles and the beach and all of that stuff. And you can think of obsession and kind of like crimes of passion when like our emotions are running at their highest and at their thickest. So this to me was the perfect kind of like suspense thriller for the summer. I really enjoyed this one. And if you like kind of like books that have that noir feel or books that put you into the mind of movies like Unfaithful, you will definitely jive with this one. Okay, so now we have The Nigerwife by Vanessa Walters. This is another very atmospheric and fascinating mystery thriller. So in this story, we are following Nicole Uwari, who is what they call a Niger wife, as she is a Jamaican British-born woman who is a transplant to Nigeria through marrying her husband, who is a successful businessman and who is attached to a very wealthy family that is very successful with business. And she lives a dream. She wants for nothing. She has money. She's caring for her two young boys, and her life is posh and everything that you think that it should and that it would be. But she ends up going missing after going on a boating trip with some friends, and her Aunt Claudine, who is in England, finds out about this and doesn't like the way that her niece's in-laws are handling the situation. They're not really reporting it to the police. They're kind of taking this very hands-off approach to the whole situation. So she decides to fly there to Nigeria and kind of like stir the pot, get the police looking into what happened to her niece so that she can get brought home safe and alive, hopefully. But while there, she is uncovering a lot of truths and secrets about Nicole's life and her marriage that she didn't know. And she's also forced to grapple with the reality that they didn't even have a really close relationship, and the fact that she feels that maybe she's too late to get that close relationship and to work through a lot of the misconceptions and the miscommunication that existed between them. And I really enjoyed this novel as well. It was such an interesting novel. I loved the structure of it. I loved the kind of writing style. I also liked the deeper themes and topics that it was touching on when it comes to identity, when it comes to privilege and wealth, when it comes to kind of a culture shock when you're coming from one kind of culture and one way of thinking and living, and you're transplanted into another culture and kind of feeling like you never can catch your footing. It was a very interesting, fascinating read. I enjoyed it. And if you love kind of deeper mystery thrillers full of suspense and full of secrets and like just like crumbling marriages and all kinds of vibes like that, you will enjoy this as well. Next up, with all of these kind of like darker, heavy books, because we know that I love my dark, heavy books, we have to include a little bit of a fluffy romance, and that would be The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. So in this very fun, fluffy romance, we are following Olive Torres, who is a maid of honor in her sister's wedding. And unfortunately, while at the reception, everyone gets food poisoning from the dinner, and they're unable to go to their honeymoon in Hawaii that they won via like some radio show. So her sister asked Olive if she wouldn't mind taking her place so that they don't lose or this trip doesn't go to waste. But the catch is that she has to go there with her arch enemy, Ethan, who ends up being the groom's, her brother-in-law's best friend, and they just never got off on the right foot. And they're supposed to travel there together and try to get along for the sake of this opportunity to go to Hawaii and have this amazing time. But of course, when they get to Hawaii, they have a little bit of friction, but things start to swing into another direction as some truths kind of come out, and we find out that they really don't dislike each other the way that they thought that they did. And we see how all of that unravels. This was a fun, funky, fresh romance. It wasn't the best romance, no. But when it comes to the summer vibes, when it comes to like the Hawaii and the beach and the dream, it was perfect. So if you're looking for something for this that has those summer vacation vibes, this is definitely going to be your jam. It's perfect for a pool day read, perfect if you're traveling to someplace tropical to kind of get your inspiration and like set the mood. This will be the perfect book for you. Last but not least, when it comes to books that have the perfect summer atmospheric vibe, I would recommend Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. I'm not all the way finished with this book, if I'm being totally honest, but when it comes to the vibes of this is giving me all the southern gothic summery vibes. It is just rich in that mood. In this story, we are following Ruth, who is the pastor's daughter and has lived a very reclusive life with her very problematic and abusive parents. And what happens is she has this special friendship with Everett. They are just kindred spirits, and they're just super, super close to one another, and they have been since they were teenagers, much to her parents' dismay. And in this novel, a skull ends up being found deep in the swamp, and everyone is trying to identify who this person is and what exactly happened and how this skull ended up in the swamp. But Ruth knows the truth behind everything. Both Ruth and Everett know the truth behind everything. They're going to be the ones who kind of like uncover what actually happened and who that skull belongs to, and kind of get the lowdown on what's happening in that town. So far this is very, very interesting, and I would recommend it if you do. I have read Ashley Winstead before, and I do like her writing style. I do like her work when it comes to mystery thrillers. So if you're looking for something that is deliciously dark, a little heavy, this would be good for you. But has those southern gothic vibes, and I mean, it's very heavy on the southern gothic vibes. This would work for you. All right, friends, those are all of the recommendations I have for kind of like ending summer with a sizzling bang. So if you're looking for, again, those vibey summer books, just check these recs. I'm going to make sure that I leave links to them in the description box below. And make sure that you like and comment and subscribe on the video, and just let me know what books you're looking forward to this summer, what you plan on doing to end this summer off with a bang. Please let me know and give me some ideas on what I can do to celebrate the last few weeks of summer. And until next time, I will see you in the next video.